If you're cruising to like the Virgin Islands or especially Mexico during, June, July, August, September, don't even bother bringing sunscreen because you're not gonna need it. It is Sunday, September 12th, 2021, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofatime, we're talking about the worst advice you could give to first-time cruisers. Welcome back, everybody. A couple days ago on Facebook, Instagram stories, and my YouTube story, I asked you all, what is a piece of advice that you would never give a first-time cruiser? And I had like a little list in my head of funny things, but you guys stepped up to the plate and knocked the ball out of the park.
It's a long
There's
fly
like
ball.
Hundreds of funny, like reverse bad advice things that you wrote. I had so much fun going through them and just imagining what it would be like to say them in an honest tone to somebody. So that's what we're gonna do today. Remember, if you've never been on a cruise before, the things I'm about to tell you are the wrong way to do it. This is bad advice.
Bad advice.
Really bad advice. And many people had a lot of very similar things. I think so many of you and I, we're all kind of on the same page. We think the same way. So let me just get into it. And it's gonna start with before you even get to the cruise. And that is definitely do not use a travel agent. Just book it all yourself. That's definitely the easiest way to get the best prices. And if you wanna change anything or cancel anything, just do it yourself. A travel agent is not gonna be able to help you with that. Do you see what this is gonna be like? All right, when you're picking out your cabin during the booking process, you wanna make sure you get a balcony with an obstructed view or an inside cabin as far down and in the back of the ship as possible. And if you're worried about motion sickness, then what you're gonna want is an inside cabin way at the front of the ship. Once you've picked out your cabin and you're, getting ready to leave, you wanna make sure to pack as much clothes as possible. If you have a 7-night cruise, you're gonna want 7 pairs of shorts, 7 bathing suits, 7 jeans, 7 shirts or tops, and then you're also gonna need 7 different like evening wear things, like suits, dresses. Also, at least 7 pairs of shoes. The reason is they're really strict about the dress codes on the ships, and everybody is gonna look at you and be noticing what you wore yesterday, so you absolutely cannot wear the same thing twice. If you don't have 2 full-size suitcases packed per person for your cruise, you're doing it wrong. Also, you're gonna wanna pack some food and definitely drinks, but we'll get to that later. On the cruise, there are extra things that you can book, like excursions and spas and go-karts and things like that. You definitely don't wanna book that in advance. Just wait until the last minute and book it while you're on the ship, because that's the way to get the best deals. It's always better and cheaper to book those things on the ship. And speaking of extras, one of the best values on board, I can't even say this without laughing. And speaking of extras, one of the best values on board is the spa. So you're gonna wanna make sure to book 3 or 4 massages on board. They will always give you a really good deal. And they also have a lot of great product suggestions, so you can, buy more things if you want to. They'll show you some things. If you don't wanna buy them, they don't pressure you. And it's always much, much cheaper than on land. Can't believe I'm saying this. Okay, let's get back to the cruise itself. When you are going to plan your getting to the ship, you don't want to have a lot of extra time in the city that it leaves from. That's boring, just hanging around. So if your boarding time of the ship is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, try to get a flight that arrives in the city at 2:30, 2:45, so you can just go directly from the airport and walk right onto the ship. You don't need extra time. You don't want that extra time. It is absolutely not going to be useful to you. And especially if your cruise is leaving from a different country, do not get there the day before. Why would you do that? Find the flight that arrives in the city as close to your boarding time as possible. So let's say you're on the ship now, and we can talk a little bit about life on board. One of the first activities that's planned for everybody once you board the ship is called the muster drill. It's the safety drill, and it is a ton of fun, but you don't have to go to it. So if you decide that you don't want to go, then the way that you show the crew that you're just opting out of it is you go to your cabin and lock the door from the inside. Then if they come and knock on the door, just pretend that you're not there. That's like the universal way of giving them the sign that you're not coming, and then they just cross your name off the list and it's fine.
However,
if you do decide you want to go to the muster drill, and remember, it is so much fun, then get there super early because you're gonna want to get a good seat, especially if you have a muster station that's someplace outside in the blistering sun. If you ask me, the muster drill is probably one of the most fun activities on the ship. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the cabin. So remember, you're bringing 2 suitcases full of clothes, right? Well, there is gonna be plenty of space to unpack all those clothes, so just go ahead and do that right away. Especially if you're on a ship like Virgin Scarlet Lady, there's gonna be loads of space. You can even put a bunch of stuff in the bathroom because the bathrooms are usually also really big and spacious on cruise ships. A little bit about the setup of the cabin. If you did get a balcony cabin, remember the inside of the cabin and especially the balcony they're basically soundproof. So another one of the first things you're gonna wanna do is turn on your television as loud as you can and then just leave it on all the time. Even when you're not in the cabin, nobody's gonna hear it. It's not gonna bother your neighbors at all. And be sure you bring one of those Bluetooth speakers. The bigger and louder, the better, because you really wanna get that party atmosphere going in your cabin, right? And the best place to put it is out on the balcony. Oh my gosh, yes, please. Please play your own music out on the balcony at all hours of the day. That is the best way to enjoy a cruise. And then when you're out on the balcony playing your own music, leave the door open to your cabin. And if there's people in the cabin that you want to talk to, don't go into the cabin. Just scream at them from out on the balcony. That's the way to do it. And if you're feeling a little frisky, definitely have sex on your balcony because you're basically invisible there. Nobody can see you and definitely nobody can hear you. So just get it on. And when you're finished with the
wow, chicka, wow, wow,
go ahead and have a smoke on the balcony. Why not? And if there isn't an ashtray, just go ahead and throw the cigarette over the railing. That's fine. And speaking of the railing, a lot of people don't know this, but you can get the best pictures of your cabin and the ship if you stand on your balcony railing or if you hang off of it. So you can like put one hand and then jump over the side and then hold your camera, you know, like for a selfie way out to the side. Those are the best pictures, so make sure you do that. All right, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, you board the ship and then you do spend most of the time in the cabin because that's where you have to wait until you get to the end of the cruise. So if you have an inside cabin with no window, no view, you're gonna want things to do, and one of those things that you can do is listen to audiobooks. Just taking a little step back to real life Morgan here at the moment. I know a lot of you have heard this from other creators. Their videos are sponsored by Audible.com. This video is not sponsored. They're not paying me to do this, unfortunately. But you know, I did set up this Amazon Associates account last year around Christmas time. With Amazon Associates, if you buy any of the products, basically anything on Amazon, following my link, I get a little bit of a bonus from that. But then there's also this Audible.com audiobook system. Even signing up for the free month helps. So you sign up for the free month, you can listen to free books in your cabin while waiting to get off the ship at the end. And even if you quit at the end of the free month, we both get something from it. If you're interested at all, please go down to the link below, sign up for the free month, listen to some books, and know that by doing that, you're helping the very unofficial travel guides.
I don't see a reason not to do it.
By the way, if you've signed up for the free month before and then quit, you can do it again as long as I think it has to be at least a year in the past. Please do it. Thank you. Okay, back to the main subject of the video. If you do decide to leave your cabin in between the first day and the last day of the cruise, you might want to go to the pool. It's not really a popular place. You know, there's really not a lot of things to do on the top deck of cruise ships nowadays. But if you do decide to go, you can just go at any time and you're gonna grab a sun chair right in the first row. That's gonna be fine. And actually, back to real life, Morgan, I have to tell you, at the moment, that's actually true. On our Apex cruise last week, there was no problem getting like a grade A spot at the pool anytime during the cruise. Okay, back to worst advice, Morgan. So yeah, just go up, get any sun chair you want. Another thing you can do, and the cruise lines really like it when you do this, is if you get up at like 6 in the morning, then just go up and put like a towel or something on a lounger to reserve it. And then, you know, it's just kind of like saying, we might use this, we might not use it. Everybody's fine with that. And then if you end up just not using it at all, that's totally cool. Sometimes a cruise will stop at a port, a destination in between the first day and the last day. And if you do decide to leave the ship, they'll give you a time that you have to be back, but that's always just a suggestion. It's really flexible. That's actually one of the great things about cruising. If you do leave the ship in a port someplace and you decide you really like it there, you can basically stay there as long as you want and the ship will wait for you to come back. Isn't that awesome? Another thing is, if you are in a port and you go on land and you realize, okay, it's kind of boring here. If you go back to the ship and ask to speak to the captain, they can leave earlier too. Speaking of the captain, if you see the captain walking around the ship and you get a chance to talk, make sure you ask,
if you're here, who's steering the ship?
The captains love that. And now we need to talk about the sun, because there's like a secret that not a lot of people know. I had to learn this recently too from all of you out there, and that is the closer you get to the equator, the weaker the sun actually gets. So depending on where your cruise is going, you might not even need sunscreen. If you're cruising to like the Virgin Islands or especially Mexico during, you know, June, July, August, September, don't even bother bringing sunscreen because you're not gonna need it. Also, drink less water because you don't need all that weight slowing you down and then you have to go to the bathroom all the time. Less sunscreen, less water equals more fun. Speaking of drinking, I know a lot of people have this issue. They're worried about motion sickness, about getting seasick because the ship moves, and the bigger the ship, the more you're gonna feel it moving. So, if you start to feel yourself getting motion sickness, then what you need to do is start drinking alcohol. The more the ship moves, the more alcohol you need to drink because that helps. And if you can, go to the inside of the ship as low as you can and as far forward as you can. That will also help. And let me tell you something, having a hangover on a ship that's moving a lot, that is the best thing, because you know, you wake up and you're all nauseous, you have a huge headache, and just this like motion of the ship will just gently rock you back to sleep. You're gonna love it. All right, along the same lines as food and drinking, if you're trying to lose weight and like stay on a diet, going on a cruise is the best thing you can do because there aren't a lot of food options and it's super expensive. So my piece of advice, or our piece of advice for you, is to pack a cooler. Pack a cooler, put some beers in there, put some, you know, cheese cubes, some brats, and bring one of those little mini Weber grills, because then you can just like grill on your balcony all the time. You can also fish from your balcony. Did you know that? Bring your rod, bring some lures, cast off your balcony, and then, you know, you can have some crappies on the grill. But don't forget to pack, you know, the charcoal and the starter fluid and all that. Probably best thing to put that in your carry-on. You know, you don't want to lose it. We're getting close to the end here. One little note about the crew on board. The crew gets paid so much money, and they also have unbelievably easy schedules. It's totally not fair. So you need to make sure that they work for that money. Be really demanding, you know, like trash your cabin every day. You need to give them something to do, or why are they even getting paid? If you're on one of those cruises where they automatically add a gratuity every day, you need to go to the front desk and get that gratuity removed immediately. How dare they? They don't deserve that. Also, if you need anything from a crew member, you better make sure you talk to them before they go home at night, because they all leave the ship at night and go home, and you're not gonna see them again until the morning. And speaking of going home, just like with your flight to the cruise, when you're booking your flight to leave the cruise, you need to get a flight as early as possible. So like, if you can get a 9 a.m. flight, 10 a.m. at the latest, you don't wanna have all that extra time in between. So just, you wanna try to plan to like roll off the ship and roll right into the airport to get your flight home. The ships are never late. There's never any complications, especially nowadays with the COVID tests and stuff like that. You don't wanna have any extra time between the end of your cruise and your flight home. And that's the list. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody who wrote something. I had so much fun going through those, and this was a fun video. Like I said, a lot of this, it's really hard to say it and keep a straight face because it's just such bad advice. So let me know if I missed anything. Like I said, I couldn't go through everything, and a lot of people wrote similar things, but if there's anything that I didn't mention in this list, let me know in the comments below. And now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In last week's Sunday Sofa Time, I showed you all around my cabin on the Ruse Prestige River Cruise boat. If you haven't been watching those videos, please go check them out. I had some of the most amazing experiences on that cruise that I wasn't expecting, and the most recent one after that was going to this swimming palace in Hungary. I still can't believe that that place really exists and that I went there. It was just so cool. These comments are on that video, and the first one is from Joyce Rossi. Joyce writes, I'm the queen of lost luggage, so I know what it's like. I've always gotten mine back in 1 to 3 days. Hopefully yours will return home soon. What Joyce is talking about is when Marcus and I flew back from Athens from our Apex cruise on Saturday, our bags didn't show up. And so we had to fill out the report and we went home, and that was, like I said, Saturday night, and mine showed up on Monday. But because I didn't have my tripod and microphone, I couldn't do like a traditional sofa time last week. And Marcus's bag didn't show up until last night, so that today's Friday while I'm recording this. So he had to wait until Thursday to get his. And he had like wet swimsuits and wet flip-flops in his bag, which...
not cute.
And I was surprised at how many people have been writing to us to say that they've also had experience with lost luggage. It's happened to me one time before, but I also got the bag back, and somebody was writing that they got their bag back like months later. How does that even happen? Next comment is from Siberia4. Siberia writes, the YouTube notice I saw once said, if you didn't watch for 2 or was it 3 videos in a row from the same YouTuber, they would unsubscribe you. Yeah, I've been noticing this again, and that's why I'm glad that Siberia wrote this, is that the subscribers have been going down again, and then people write to me to say, I can't believe I was unsubscribed. I thought I was subscribed to you. And it happens to me too. When I realize that people's videos that I like to watch aren't showing up in my feed anymore, I go and look at their channel and poof, I'm unsubscribed. I don't understand why YouTube does that. So yeah, if you think you're still subscribed to my channel or any other like real favorites of yours, make sure you check, because YouTube's doing funny things. Final comment is from Is It Vain to Say I'm Pretty? Love that name. And they write, it looks nice. Do they provide food? And I don't know if this comment is serious or not, but I'm gonna say that it is serious. So yes, I mean, I know I just spent like 20 minutes joking about not having enough food or options on cruise ships, but every cruise you go on is going to have free dining options. On a river cruise, you'll have a lot less options than you'll have on an ocean cruise, but the meals were all included. There was no reason to necessarily pay more for any food, although you can if you want to. If you want to go to the restaurants that aren't included on ships, they're called specialty restaurants, but there are definitely plenty of food options for all kinds of diets, meat eaters, vegetarians, gluten-free, whatever it is. So to answer your question, is it vain to say I'm pretty? Yes, they do provide food. All right, everybody, please, if you're interested at all in audiobooks and helping out the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, please go down below and click on the link to Audible. That would just really help me out. And like I said, you can cancel it after a month and then you got something for free and you help me out. And I mean, it's almost Christmas, so do it as like an early Christmas present. Oh, you know what? You can give somebody a subscription to audible.com for Christmas. It's all in the link. I will be back here next week to tell you about some exciting plans I have coming up and some, a great accomplishment that I'm really proud of that all fits together. I think a lot of you might kind of know what's going on now with that information, but I have to wait until next week until it all comes together so I can give you the details. And in the meantime, check back for the next daily vlogs from the Ruse Prestige River Cruise. You're gonna see some cowboys, you're gonna see some horses, some religious palaces, all kinds of things. See you soon.